Welcome, Rahul. Nene, Chief Sustainability Officer of Huhtamaki, Finnish company, and the company is into food packaging sustainability. My name is Benedict Paramanand. I'm the editor of Sustainability Next. So, a brief introduction about Sustainability Next. It is a 11-year-old digital magazine. So, we are a fortnightly for the last 1 year. We were monthly before. And our mission is to mainstream sustainability thinking among entrepreneurs, executives, and graduate students. And perhaps we are the largest read sustainability magazine in India today. Happy to have you in our dialogue series. So the first question is, uh, tell us a little about the company Huhtamaki. It is a global leader in food, rather sustainable food packaging. I understand.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for having me, and so it's my pleasure, and I love talking about sustainability. So happy to be here. Coming to the question, so like you said, yes, Huhtamaki is a Finnish company headquartered in Helsinki. It's a 100-year-old company, a rich history uh, of various businesses, but finally, kind of gaining expertise in packaging. And so, yes, we majorly are into food packaging, but that's not the only type of packaging that we do. So basically, what we have three segments in under Huhtamaki, but kind of two types of packaging that we majorly supply. One is the flexibles packaging, which is plastic packaging. We are not into rigids or anything. It's purely flexible packaging. A lot of it, of course, is for food applications, but apart from that, also consumer goods, cosmetics, and pharmaceuticals as well. And apart from that, we are also suppliers of food and fiber packaging. So paperboard based packaging. So typically, the cups that you get in coffee shops or
Yeah.
burger joints, etc., takeaways is something that we do. Brand related. How do I say? You have these coffee pods nowadays in Europe, which are made out of biodegradable,
Mhm.
compostable material. So that's something that we produce. So these are the kind of innovations that we have in terms of packaging, and it's our value system or our motto is to be the number one provider of sustainable packaging solutions across the globe. And to be honest, sustainable packaging can mean different things for different people. Our approach is it has to be science based, data based, and it's not perception based, because typically we have this perception that plastic is bad, replace it with cloth and it's sustainable. So that's not how science sees it. Depending on the application, depending on the infrastructure, say of recycling or disposal in the particular countries, what is sustainable will be different in that region, and we kind of cater to those needs. In terms of, we are about almost 20,000 employees worldwide. In India, we are about 2,500 people distributed across 10 factories in India. And so in India, we are majorly into flexible packaging. That's our main business in India. But we also have one more factory which supplies the food and fiber services products in India. So total of 11 factories, flexibles plus food and fiber put together.
Great. So, what are the top two innovations that have happened in food packaging in the last 1 or 2 years? We'll
Yeah.
stick to India. We'll stick to
Okay. Sure. So, in terms of our biggest innovation is what I would say is, so we have this program called as Blue Loop, right? So now, the biggest challenge, I mean, we hear these numbers that, India is the biggest polluter of plastics, or one of the biggest, and then 3.4 million metric tons of plastic waste generated every year. When we look a bit deeper, if you see, the major waste that is getting generated is multi-layered packaging. 70% of it is flexibles, and a lot of it is multi-layered packaging. And the reason for this is we don't have good end-of-life disposal mechanisms in the country to dispose MLP waste. A lot of it goes to either landfills, or at best it goes to something like a cement factory where it is burnt off, right? Whereas as you compare to Europe, they have chemical recycling to handle MLP. We don't have that. So it is very important for sustainability in a country like India to make multi-layered, I mean, move away from multi-layered packaging, but also have flexible packaging which is recyclable. So if you go to a garbage dump today, you won't find a plastic bottle over there, right? Or you won't find a milk pouch. Why? Because these are recyclable in India. They are mono-material structures, and when they get collected, the rag pickers who collect this, they get a good value by selling it off. Why? Because they're mono-material. Recyclers can get good quality recycled granules out of it. This does not happen with flexible multi-layered packaging. So our biggest innovation that we are trying to do is shift away from multi-layered packaging and provide mono-material packaging for applications in India, for flexible packaging applications, but at the same time ensure that the functionality is not impacted. So
So how easy is it or difficult to shift to multi-layer?
extremely tough, honestly, because like I said, it's not just about making a shift to a material or a mono material, but not impacting the functionality. So if you take today a chips packet, right, there will be generally an aluminum foil, and it is there because you need to have the barrier against oxygen, you need to have a barrier
Yeah.
against humidity, moisture. Now we are taking away the aluminum foil
Mm.
and we are coming up with a single material. In that case, how do you provide that barrier, right? So and then ensuring that this structure is recyclable in the mechanical recycling infrastructure that is available in the country. This is the biggest challenge. In terms of technology, in terms of R&D, all our efforts are towards this, that any application that might come to us, we should be able to provide a recyclable packaging solution. And I'm proud to say that we are. And it's not just that we are providing a recyclable solution. At the same time, we are also reducing the consumption of or the amount of plastic required in that structure. So we are going for thinner packaging. Sometimes you have thick packaging which may not be required. So
Yeah.
reducing the plastic consumption, and then also keeping it to monomaterial which will be recyclable in the infrastructure available in India. That's our biggest innovation. I would say about 27% of our packaging solutions already are in this are falling under this definition, and we have a target to reach 100% by the year 2030. So single point agenda to provide recyclable packaging solutions in India, recyclable in India.
Interesting. So 100% by 2030, you said.
2030, yes.
Okay.
The
What
other
kind of?
aspect, sorry, since you asked for two innovations and
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's go.
yeah. So just the other aspect now, because we are talking of circularity and sustainability, on one end we work towards making the packaging recyclable, but we should be also able to use recycled granules back into manufacture of packaging. So that's another work stream that's very important for us. Also, the regulations in India, the plastic waste management rules that have come up from financial year 25-26, they have also mandated certain use of recycled content. And again, that is a challenge, because you in India you don't get good quality of recycled content that can go into manufacture of packaging. Again, we don't want to compromise on functionality, we don't want to compromise on quality. A lot of study needs to be done to ensure that there is no introduction of unwanted material because of the recycled content. Migration studies need to be done, and then those recycled granules need to run on our machines, so that, for example, there's nothing like a gel formation, etc., that's happening in the packaging. So there's the other bit of research that's going on is also into how can we incorporate recycled content into our packaging, so that we have that entire loop, that we make our packaging recyclable and then also use recycled content in our packaging.
Interesting. From the consumer point of view, so far you spoke about the manufacturer's point of view.
Yeah.
What are you seeing from the consumer point of view?
Honestly, from consumer point of view, it's two-way. I'll be honest. The consumer is highly perception driven in our country, is what I see, and the perceptions are built through multiple things like social media, and then whatever information that they receive from, say, other companies or from friends. We are influenced in many ways. I myself am also a consumer, right? So from a consumer's perspective, and I also understand, when we talk of recyclability, you hear this term that recyclable does not mean that it actually gets recycled, or consumers think that recycling is not the solution. There are aspects that are coming off biodegradability, compostability, etc. from a consumer point of view, I think it is very necessary to also educate them. For example, we have a lot of compostable carry bags and e-commerce packaging that has come up, and general thought process as a consumer is okay, this is better, this is compostable, right? But if you really go into the depth of it, what it is industrial compostable, it is not home compostable. So
Okay.
even if you throw it in a dustbin at home, it's not going to compost. It has to be taken to an industrial compostable site where you need to maintain humidity, you need to maintain temperature, etc., etc. Only then it can compost. So the same challenge of recycling are also applicable there. The other aspect is composting releases methane, which is a greenhouse gas. So is it really the solution? Industrial composting, that's a question mark. So
What
these
methane? Religious methane.
so it releases methane as a
Releases.
gas,
Okay,
yeah,
okay, yeah,
which has a very high global warming
yeah, yeah.
potential. So overall, from I mean, we need to do life cycle assessment studies. What makes sense for which application, and then educate the consumer towards it, why it is important, right? And then only when that awareness will come, will I you can say that consumer driven or consumer behavior can be driven. And added to it, I think somewhere the infrastructure or lack of infrastructure in the country also plays a part, because typically we have this now, the housing societies have asked people to segregate waste. But when the vehicle comes from the municipality, anyway, this segregated waste is collected all together. And so thought process is, why do I segregate at home if anyway the municipality is going to mix it up? So we have now NGOs, we have now agencies who have been enabled, who are trying to improve this system, because something like a extended producer responsibility as a regulation has come in the country. So we have to bifurcate plastic and then take EPR credits, get it recycled, etc. So the regulations, this awareness is slowly creeping up. Of course, not at the level that it should be, but from a consumer perspective, I would say we need to drive a lot more awareness based on data and science, and then help with infrastructure so that consumers also can tune their behavior accordingly.
Yeah. So how you mentioned about the 2026 law,
Hmm.
how confident are Indian companies in achieving it? And if they are not, what needs to be done? Because it's not too far away.
No, I think it's quite doable. We have been working on this for the last 1.5 years from various perspectives.
Not just
One is,
you, I'm talking of the industry overall.
even in the industry, I mean, even if I look at other companies, because I'm part of multiple industry associations also. In fact, yesterday I was in a meeting with one of the state pollution control boards where other companies were present. So we discussed this topic. So yes, there are challenges technically, because ensuring a supply chain of recycled granules, that's going to be a challenge. Ensuring that they are of the right quality. There is traceability, that actually waste has been collected and recycled, so that there is no fraud being done in that, and traceability is ensured. Then once the granules are procured, ensuring that they run on the current machine, because what we do is we take these resins and we make a film out of it and we blow it, and so that there is no gel formation, there are no quality impacts, there is no unnecessary materials involved getting added to the packaging, which don't finally go, should not migrate into the product which it is going to store. And then it also needs to ensure the shelf life, because when you say that, say a shampoo is being stored in our packaging, and we say a 2 year shelf life, our packaging needs to protect it for 2 years also. So all this, ensuring this is a challenge, but we have been taking trials for about almost 1 year, 1.5 years now over this, because we knew the law was coming, and we have seen the results. So that's not a challenge. In fact, we are in close, how do I say, we are close to commercializing with multiple customers in terms of recycled content. So challenges are there, but we have found solutions. Not just us, the industry, I think, has found solutions. And uh, because of the regulations, newer technologies and newer investments are coming up. So for example, till last year we did not have a commercial chemical recycling plant in India which was able to supply recycled resin, but in January 2024 we have it, the first one. And I know that other companies are also investing into it. So the infrastructure also gets developed as and how the regulations come in, because regulations push the brands to do it, and then because the brands have to do it, there is commercial value towards doing
Yeah.
it, and it becomes a business.
So the packaging industry is, I see, largely managed or run by international companies in India.
Mhm.
Uh, what is the size of Indian companies and how are they shaping up?
Okay, in fact, contrary to belief, I would say, uh, yes. I mean, with multiple uh, MNCs. There are international companies, us and a couple of others who are present in India, who are the major suppliers. But I would say from a packaging point of view, overall, there are also a lot of MSMEs in India who are supplying packaging. So a huge percentage of the sector is also still unorganized or at least small scale. There are so many companies who just set up shop next to an industrial belt and just supply to the factories that are there. And so from an India perspective, I think there are many Indian companies who are also still one of our key competitors is also an Indian company. But barring, I would say, three companies, including us, who are the majority suppliers, there is still a significant percentage that is Indian companies, MSMEs. So I think the and I'm just thinking out loud, but traditionally packaging companies have been called as converters. And this terminology comes as we just take resins and we convert it into a packaging, and you are paid for that conversion. But I think that is no more the case. With sustainability being the key agenda and heavy research being needed towards making a recyclable structure, we see ourselves as value partners, not just converters. And that's where we as MNCs, I think, can bring in value. But I don't mean that Indian companies are not doing it. They are also doing it because the industry is moving in that direction. So I would say there is a balance. There are international companies, but Indian companies also in the fray.
Yeah. So you did mention about the extended producer responsibility. Um, so, and that's part of the 2026 26 law, is it?
So the EPR is already implemented. So when 2019, the first mandate came, and in 2022 February 2022 they mandated it. So EPR is already implemented. All the registered companies, if except the MSMEs, are mandated to collect and recycle as per their EPR targets, and even we are compliant. And most of the companies who are registered are compliant on this regulation. In fact, just like we file returns annually for our taxes, we have to also now file annual returns on our plastic usage. So how much plastic we really bought, how much we sold, whom we sold to. Basis that the EPR target gets calculated, and we have to ensure that we meet those targets, and we have to file the proof on a common portal which the Central Pollution Control Board has come up with. So it's a very nice digital tool that the CPCB has also implemented. It's quite well done, honestly. I don't think any other country in the world has implemented such a portal at such a vast scale. So it's I mean, credit where due.
What's the portal? What's the portal?
So you can say it's a CPCB EPR plastic portal.
Okay.
And you have a lot of information also available. How much is the total amount of plastic in the country that is consumed by type of packaging, etc. So I would say still there are always areas of improvement. With such a vast country like us, implementation is not always perfect, but it improves year by year. When we started in 2019 to what in 5 years, there's a massive improvement.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
So just capture that improvement broadly in 5 years.
Yeah. So when we started, I think the collection and recycling targets were started with 25% of your sales, if I'm not wrong. Today it is 100%, and now the amount of companies that have registered, I don't know exactly the increase, but earlier there was a lot of hesitation, right, to get registered, because the moment you register, you declare the amount of plastic you're consuming, how much you're selling. There's a lot of transparency that gets built. But through various ways in which the regulations have been implemented, like for example, today if you import anything plastic, the customs officer will check with whether you are registered or not, and if you're not registered, they will not release your consignment. It's an indirect push to get registered. At the moment you get registered, the EPR targets and everything, you come under the law. So the massive attempts and efforts that have been gone into getting people registered on the portal, and then ensuring that they comply with the law, and then also doing audits in terms of whether the EPR credits that are getting generated are genuine. There are massive audits that were done last year by the local pollution control boards. A lot of recyclers were also audited. So this improvement in the last 5 years, I remember 2016 when first plastic waste management rules came and EPR concept started coming up in the industry. there's so much skeptical views on it that this will never work in India. We don't have the recycling infrastructure. But I think recycling infrastructure itself has grown 3 to 4 times in the country to support this law also. So right. So it's a very nice case study where regulations have pushed growth of infrastructure, push industries to take some accountability. Like I said, always areas of improvement are there in the implementation part, but by and large, there's a massive improvement.
So what kind of policy support now your industry is seeking to take this industry forward? Now the new government has come. So what
Yeah.
are your
My biggest point over there is something that I discussed earlier, which is the shift to recyclable packaging solutions. That as a policy is still missing in India. If you look at all the regulations in, say, majorly Europe or even Oceania, etc., to make the entire packaging circular, right? A, it needs to be recyclable, and then B, it should be recycled, and recycled content needs to be used back in manufacture to close the loop, so to say. We have regulation pushing for recycled content, but we don't have regulation pushing for recyclability of the solution, and that's something that I really look forward to. If you look, so 2 months ago, I think in Europe they approved a huge landmark regulation called as PPWR, plastic waste regulations, uh, and they have mandated 100% recyclable packaging by the year 2030 in Europe. So something similar that is feasible for the Indian market needs to come up, because you cannot always treat legacy waste and try and create good quality recycled granules out of it. You need to go into that loop. So right now, in fact, a lot of rigid packaging is being recycled to make resins that are being used for flexible packaging. But flexible packaging itself needs to be recyclable to really start getting that scale. And that's one key policy I really hope gets implemented in the country. That really will help the industry at large.
So I'm also told that the GST on recycle companies is what do you call unreasonably high. So if you want to promote recycling and things like that, you cannot have 18% GST.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, GST, and then other is also incentivization of people for people to actually go towards this. For example, if you go to recyclable, I mean, going to the same point, but if you go to recyclable structures, there might be some changes that would be needed in the machinery that manufactures the packaging and then uses the packaging to actually pack the product. Now, if there is some incentivization, because it's not cheap, this machinery, there is a massive investment that's required. So some kind of incentivization is done towards this, or some kind of EPR rebates are given to companies who move to recyclable structures. If this incentive is driven, or on the taxation bit also, I think that can really push the industry. So I agree with you. This financial incentivization will really help.
So is your association presenting a memorandum to the government?
So we are always part. So we are part of multiple industry associations. We with CII, India Plastics Pact. We are also with FICCI. We keep. So I get invited to working groups with the government. Yesterday, in fact, I was in one such industry consultation. So for sure, I mean, we keep giving this opinion to various industry associations, think tanks, and we hope for the best that it gets somewhere implemented as well.
Yeah, just a last question.
Sure.
What is the, I mean, does the carbon credit work? How does it work in your industry?
I'm not a fan of carbon credits, to be honest. I mean, yes. Now we have been talking a lot about product sustainability, right? There's also operational sustainability, meaning the carbon emissions that come out of our own production units. So, for example, we have committed to carbon neutral production again by the year 2030. So we'll mitigate all the carbon emissions. Now, the way to do it is, I mean, if someone has to do it in an easy way, you can pay for carbon credits, mitigate it, done. That really does not help the country as such, does not help sustainability in terms of the right spirit. So we are also kind of trying to implement a hierarchical process approach, where first, wherever there is energy consumption, you look for efficiency and optimization, maximize the amount of renewable energy that you can generate. So 4 of our sites have on-site rooftop Two of our factories are also in the process of implementing solar projects. Once that is done, we can look at third-party agreements to procure actual renewable electricity rather than just a financial agreement. Last case, like if you can then mitigate 90-95% of your carbon emissions through these real solutions, to meet at 100%, maybe a small percentage can be done with carbon credits through projects that have been, kind of set up somewhere else. But that should not be the go-to solution, in my opinion, for carbon credit. And that's so it works. It works everywhere. But as a company, I think that's not our first solution towards achieving it. We want to stick true to the spirit of sustainability, so to
Are
speak.
you also into the net zero race?
So net zero, we have not now openly not communicated our targets to the world. We have committed to 2030 carbon neutral production. Of course, internally we are working on what works best. Our targets are also approved by the SBTI, so Science Based Target Initiative, where, as per the Paris Agreement, uh, we have said that to limit the temperature rise in terms of global warming, the targets need to be approved by Science Based Target Initiative. So that has also been done. From a net zero perspective, we are still working out what we want to do. We have internal discussions ongoing on a very strong level, but externally we'll be able to communicate once we kind of align on it.
Thank you so much, Rahul, for your time, and we'll be in touch.
Sure. Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Thank you.